The position of the Singapore government is that dual citizenship is not permitted. Now, Singaporeans live in a very globalized economy, and this is a difficult position for many. So if a person has a foreign citizenship and naturalises as a Singapore citizen, they have to renounce that foreign citizenship. And by the same token, if you are a Singapore citizen and you are seeking a foreign citizenship, or you secure a foreign citizenship, you have to yourself either renounce your Singapore citizenship, or the government will effectively renounce you as a Singapore citizen. So it's an unsatisfactory position for many, but there are options, of course, for securing permanent residence abroad. And I act for clients who are looking to move to the EU and secure an option which does not necessarily involve citizenship. And many Singaporeans have a strong emotional connection, understandably, with their Singapore citizenship and do not want to renounce it. So what are the options for visas, but also permanent residence abroad if you're in that position and you don't necessarily want a pathway that's leading to citizenship? Well, there are many, and my approach really in connection with people applying from Singapore, but also for my clients generally, is that it's not necessary to apply for an investor visa and to make the sort of commitment that's involved there, if there are other options which don't require that. For example, there are many retirement visas available that do not require you to invest. There's a whole industry that surrounds investor visas and really significant sums of money that are invested. And I do have clients that ultimately choose those routes. But I think the starting point is to see whether there's alternative visa routes that do not involve the transfer of large sums of money or significant investments in jurisdictions that the individual's not familiar with. So let's just have a look at what the options are. For example, for Portugal, there is the D7 retirement visa. Now, this involves you showing a passive income of around 650 euros minimum from rental income or investment income, which for many Singaporeans is a very modest amount of money and very achievable. And in contrast to the Portugal so-called golden visa, where you invest in property at usually 500,000 euros, it's definitely something to be considered. Now, it does involve you having to live in Portugal for half of the year, whereas the golden visa does not. You only have to make a short trip to Portugal each year. But nevertheless, your that sort of visa may be sufficient. And the other thing is that switching into it may also be possible. If you qualify for the D7 retirement visa, there's nothing to stop you from then switching into an investor visa if, let's say, you can't meet the minimum residency requirements for permanent residence, or you just decide to commit to the country, having lived there and worked there, as the case may be. Because this retirement visa, unlike, for example, the one of the Spanish equivalents, does enable you to work and set up a business if you wish, and so forth. So why apply for an investor visa when you can apply for that, especially if you're not familiar with the country? It's worth considering the broader options. Now, the other option is Ireland, for example, which doesn't give you the Schengen visa, but for many people applying from Singapore, it is a great option in terms of a majority English-speaking country and an economy that's on the rise, and cultural familiarities that might be attractive. And there again, there's an investor visa option, which involves, for example, investment in a real estate investment trust or an investment in an approved fund, generally around 1 million euros, if you're looking to secure your capital return at the end of the period. But all of the investor visas, again, the other thing you need to bear in mind is that they all have to be investments that are at risk in some form. So no matter how low the risk is, there's got to be some benefit to the economy, and that's why investments into government bonds are generally not allowed, or are being restricted across across Europe, or have been abandoned by most EU member states. So that's a pathway to a stamp 4 visa, which in Ireland is the equivalent of permanent residence, if you like, and which allows you to visit Ireland for a short period each year, if you wish, or to live there. But there's the minimum residency requirement is very short, and so that can be attractive in terms of providing flexibility if you're going backwards and forwards. Other options in Ireland include effectively setting up a company or applying under the critical skills permit route if you meet the relevant criteria. That's for those who have basically an existing business operation typically, or are setting up a subsidiary. There is also a retirement visa, which does not lead to a stamp 4 visa, but a lesser permission, which again may be sufficient and may be an appropriate alternative to an investor visa. So that is an option. Now, in terms of other options within Europe, or albeit not within the EU now after the UK has left the European Union, the UK again has strong cultural and historical ties to Singapore, and has various options which I specialise in, and which I'm happy to assist you with. The UK has made has of course an investor visa. There's been some interest, again, just to illustrate this point about whether you should apply for an investor visa or an alternative. Just to use the example of Hong Kong, for example, many Hong Kong nationals who previously would have considered an investor visa or one of the other more financially onerous visas, if you like, now do not need to go down that route, because for Hong Kong there is the BNO visa status, which is available from the beginning of 2021, and on their existing visas they have a visitor permission. So unless they've already been here for six months, they can come here on a BNO visa. So there again, the investor visas aren't necessary, but for Singapore there is not an equivalent to the BNO visa. Of course, there's still access under the Singapore passport, but that doesn't provide the right to work. It doesn't provide a pathway to permanent residence, and so people might consider the sole representative visa, or the startup visa, or an innovator visa, or one of the other visa options. So there are other jurisdictions as well, other options which you can check out on the academy and the courses to which I've contributed, and you can see their options right across Europe, including Estonia, Spain, Portugal, and elsewhere. And feel free to sign up for that and check them out, including the experiences of successful applicants. So I hope that's a helpful overview, and as I say, just beware of going down a investor visa pathway if in fact there could be a satisfactory alternative visa that does not require you to necessarily invest. Thanks and bye for now.